Welcome to Coherence 2025. Thomas, where are you calling in from?
I'm coming from Paris. Right now I'm in Place de la République.
Yes, you are. That's about as Parisian as it gets right there. Très bien.
Yeah. We don't hear you.
Anyways,
Yeah,
Bart, where are you these days? You're
I'm in the Netherlands.
okay.
Yeah,
Still nice.
yeah,
How's it there?
it's good. Easy, a bit cloudy, but nice.
Good. Um, well, Thomas, I wonder if you've had a chance to look into anything about Hive, if you know anything about what our piece of the puzzle is.
You muted, Thomas.
Oops, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I'd love an intro if it's possible.
yeah. So essentially, the piece that we're working on is we're calling it the second brain for the regenerative movement. It's collective knowledge gardening. So human AI collaboration to curate knowledge, specifically for the moment in regards to the regenerative movement. Is that a term that makes sense to you? Some people are not familiar with that when I say regenerative movement. Okay. So that would be the use case, and then it could expand out from there. But it's being built with a very collaborative and collective approach. And the specific piece that we're holding at Hive is sort of the network builder. There are a lot of other organizations that are working on pieces of the technology. We are working on pieces of the technology as well, but it's a big project. And so part of what we're doing is the weaving together of the various projects that are all working on similar ideas. The simplest way to describe it is with a very simple metaphor about hives, beehives. So every individual or organization might have their own, uh, you know, little cell in the hive, or their little own hexagon, and that's their personal or organizational knowledge management space, where they can collect all of the wisdom that they are finding in their own endeavors, and then have a kind of ethical AI agent that's not stealing their data, to help them process and understand that knowledge. They can also, if they wish, they're invited to share some of that knowledge, whatever they wish, whatever you can sort of select permissions about how much of your knowledge is shared into the larger hive. And so there's very much an emphasis on this collective knowledge management, collective knowledge building. And then that's where the real magic happens once information starts to be shared from these individual discrete cells into the larger hive. Then there are AI agents. Think about sort of worker bees that are listening in to what your organizational needs might be, talking to other agents, worker bees, saying, "Oh, you have an idea that might help these people over here, or they're needing this skill and you have it." So there ends up being a lot of kind of job pairing, matchmaking, knowledge uh, matchmaking, as well as resources. And then there's sort of the larger queen bee intelligence, the sort of the the AI that's looking over the whole picture at the actions of everything in the hive, and that can help start to direct movement-wide efforts. So sort of more of a strategic outlook, whereas these worker bees are more tactical. Um, that's probably a good basic overview. There's obviously a lot of actually one other piece that I'll put in there is the attribution of knowledge and then reward for evolving knowledge is a piece that we're talking a lot about. So if there is an idea that's shared into the collective, that idea can be tracked, using Web3, blockchain, etc. And so we can see where an idea originates, and then we can see who contributes to evolve that idea and how it ends up. So there's a lot of interesting, rich data that can be gained from that, the visibility of that process. But also, if my idea, the seed of the idea that I plant ends up being monetized or what have you eventually, there's a way that's built in where the kind of flow of resources could come back to me. I could get a little bit of like a fractional revenue sharing from the contribution that I've given to the idea or anywhere along the way. Bart, how did I do?
9 out of 10.
That sounds awesome. What's the current state of development for these technologies?
Good question. Sorry, I have to keep adjusting my volume. There's a team working in Tuscany right now, and actually another sort of decentralized team that has an alpha that's going that is very. I think they're doing this alpha test with 2 or 3 different organizations. Yannick, our sort of the lead developer on our team, is in the weeds with it. Apparently, it's working. I am not on the tech side of it, so I can't tell you much more than that. So yes, there's a working alpha. The levels of functionality of what it's actually doing in this moment, I don't know. He's been working a lot with setting up ways to interact with it using Telegram, because he wants the like interface to be very, very simple and clean. So for example, you're using it at Villa Gaia right now, which is this hub in Tuscany that is being inhabited by GaiaNet, and then the other development partner is Futura. And so they're using it to coordinate efforts there, and yeah, kind of like systems management, resource tracking, everything from like ordering the groceries for the community to tracking the budgets to processing all of the data that's coming in from the recordings of their meetings that are talking about high level systems change stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of elements that are happening. I don't know exactly how they're all happening together at this moment because it changes weekly.
Yeah, maybe good to note that it's very early stage in terms of development, but Futura and Symbiosis, the development partners, they have been working for a long time, especially on the Symbiosis platform, which is an open source platform for collaboration. So there is a history there. And comparing it to JOGL, I think JOGL is way further in terms of having a usable platform and product. So I think from our side, we're very curious to explore, where you are in development and how we might be able to help each other as well, because I think many of the functionalities that we envision are already present in the JOGL platform. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything else at this point, Andrew, or if you have any questions, Thomas, because otherwise this might be a good segue to pass the ball to you. Thomas, share a little bit more about your development and the vision behind JOGL.
Yeah, with pleasure. No, I think what at the end what matters. I think we're pretty well aligned on the vision of what is needed to accelerate collaboration. And I think it's we are all experiencing pain when it comes to facilitating networks and trying to make more meaningful collaboration emerge. And so that was the root of JOGL. The roots of JOGL are more inscribed in scientific collaboration and tech innovation collaboration originally. But we ended up developing, let's say, user interfaces that could be applied to any kind of of collaboration. But that's our core, ecosystem, I would say. So science tech, and entrepreneurship. Um, so the one thing from what I heard, the one thing that we haven't touched at all is the engine for, as you described it, for managing contribution, like knowing, who contribute to what. That is because this is a very complex problem to solve, and so we didn't want to touch that as we had so much already on our plate. So I'd be very very interested to know more about how you were planning to do this. And what we've done so far is developing two products. The first product was the JOGL platform. So it's a collaboration platform that relies on open source components that mimics tools such as Slack, Google Drive, like event management, paper management, etc. So it's really made for managing communities where you can have even subsets of communities, so you can restructure your communities in sub workspaces, in even sub workspaces. So it's very modular, and so this is based on basically almost 15 years of experience of managing communities. And the second product is very, very new. It's still somehow in beta. It's an AI agent that we've been developing for a few months, and that is basically taking the same mission as a Drupal platform, which is to create this vast professional network of experts and trying to bring them together in communities so that they can help each other on their projects. But instead of trying to bring everyone to our own platform, which was the model, the thought model, for a long time for platforms in general, we say that instead of doing this, we would try to go where people already are. And so the agent can be installed on different platforms such as Slack or Discord, like WhatsApp, Telegram, and the role of the agent is to learn about people like that are within a specific community, and learn as much as possible about their professional work. So obviously their background, but especially their work, like what they've been working on. So you can imagine for a scientist, going to be their papers, or for a developer, it's going to be their contributions on GitHub, or it could be for other people like reports or description of projects, etc., etc. The way we use this information, the way the agent uses that information is that it indexes everything. And at the end, you can talk to the agent, asking very complex queries about what you're doing right now, the kind of problems that you have, and what you're looking for. And the agent is going to help you find the right person. And it's going to explain you why that person is going to be relevant, because they have worked on this before, and this is the way you should approach that person, the kind of question you should ask her, etc., etc., and it basically bring you in contact with them. So it's firstly like an AI matching agent, and so it's operational. We started rolling it out for like now 3 weeks in various organizations, and and we're actually pretty happy about it. It works really well, and the way it works so far is that we approach organizations or networks, and there are two ways. Either people create their own profiles, but the approach that we prefer today is we create profiles for them. So they give us a list of members, and we automatically create all what we call shadow profiles that people can claim later. But the advantage is that the value is immediate. Like you don't have to wait for people to create their profile, because the data is already indexed. So it's great. And yeah, I could show you like a little demo of the agent, and see if it somehow matches your expectation or what you've been bidding for. We are self open source, as you understood. So we're completely open for open source collaboration and merging efforts. So.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. That sounds incredible. Yeah, I'm really curious actually to see the agent operational. If you can, I know you're on your phone. Can you show it on your phone?
I'm sure I can. Let me see. I should be able to share my screen. All right. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So this is obviously like what this is Slack, for example. So we have it appears as a bot that's called JOGL Network, and you can ask different kind of questions. It could be very simple question like give people who have worked with me, about something, or you can give them like a actual description of a project. And to give you a sense, for example, I can ask a question for you. So it could be I'm looking for people that will help me on a project about how we could put this great, yeah, active, let's say maybe agriculture. So I'm not sure we have a lot of profiles yet about regenerative agriculture, but let's try. Let's see. It takes a few seconds. Okay. All right. So the way it works is it gives you usually like three. It gave me only two here because normally it gives you three, but because we don't have, I guess, a lot of people working on this yet. It gave us only two. So it's basically like a summary of why these people are actually relevant. And there is, but you can read. And so it tells you get you like some recommendations or suggested next steps, or you can actually continue discussing with the agent. And so I could say, okay, I could either take one of the questions here or ask a different one, but maybe I can. Okay, tell me more about experience with um, and so you can really have this ongoing discussion because the agent knows about their whole profiles, like all their work. So you can really get deep into it. And so, right. And so, it's, it gives you also limitations, some recommendations again, and then again, it tells you, what kind of questions you could ask for. So it enables you to really get deep into knowing potentially these people about your queries. And if you think that these people may not actually be the right person, you can always ask a different question and go back here and say, okay, I want to actually find some other people, right? But that's how it works basically. And you can really like, for example, here we have more profile around health, but it's it's really impressive how it is able to get deep into the details of somebody's work and tell you actually how compatible this is with your own project or not, and how you can collaborate with them. And so what it means is, if I want to contact that person, right, I can just click, on that right? And so I can ask to connect, for example, with them, and then I can DM them basically.
Yeah. Wow, this is incredible, man. I think this comes very much in the direction of what we're envisioning as well. And I really like also the fact that you're integrating with the tools and platforms where people are. Maybe you can mute yourself, Thomas.
Yeah.
There's a bit of background. Yeah, and I really like how it's integrating indeed with things like Slack or Telegram and meeting people where they are. I think that's essential, so that it's very natural and organic for people to interact with the tool and the network. But then at the same time, guide people to the platform for the profiles if they want to learn more. That feels like a very natural way to do it. And yeah, especially also with like building these shadow profiles and simply kind of installing the bots in the channels where you're active, so that the tool can learn about you. Yeah, wow, this is cool. What's your reflections, Andrew?
Agree. It's awesome that you are integrating it with what's already existing. I feel like that is such a good move. And so yeah, yes to all what Bart said. I'm curious how, and maybe I just missed what you were saying about it, but how are you narrowing down which profiles you are targeting? Like which profiles you're scraping and from where? Is there a specific, like, does that make sense? Like I guess the use case would be, I'm wondering if you could have it work where, like, I want to find all of the people on my LinkedIn network, or that I'm following on LinkedIn, and have, shadow profiles created for all of them. Is that because I want to be pulled from a specific.
So that's possible. That's possible, but it's going to cost you basically. Because it has a cost for us to create shadow profiles, both in terms of using services and time. So this is usually something we invoice organizations for that.
Mm-hmm.
We sorry for this. I'm not in the best place for silence.
Okay.
That's why we mostly have like a B2B business model.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, if that's something that would be useful for like a person that would be, be able to, let's say, invest like a few thousand, euros into such a thing, we could actually index all their LinkedIn profiles and have them enriched with more information about what they do and give them access to this through the agent. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reason I ask, and that was just an example, because I think that a big part of what we're trying to do is have this kind of curated network where we're drawing from, people that that we know have a certain amount of expertise, and so there's sort of this built-in trust network, and when we're looking for, idea pairing or job pairing, or any of those kind of things.
Can you mute again, Thomas?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Interfering. Yeah.
We're just wanting, we're not wanting to cast the widest possible net. We're wanting to cast the net within a certain community. So, and I think that's a key piece. I mean, eventually the what we're working on would open up to a wider ecosystem, but in order to build this kind of foundation where there's like it's a trust network, and we know that the information that we are feeding into this collective knowledge base is coming from trusted sources. We want to have sort of a chain of custody. That's not quite the right word, but you know what I mean. Like, we want to know what the sources are.
To answer to that, it's actually it's exactly what we do. The way I didn't show it to you, but you can actually filter the results. So you can say I want to search globally, or I want to search specifically in that specific network. Um, so as you can imagine, so you create hubs on the JOGL platform and so even if you're on Slack, when you're on Slack, you're part of a specific community of that Slack. And so when you do a search from that Slack, you can decide either I want to search among the members of that community or beyond.
Right.
And then in terms of trust, though, the way it works is that's we don't create profiles without research. So we work with organizations that work in a specific domain that we can scan. Like for example, we did that with XRP. XRP is one of the blockchain, and they have a very extensive network of researchers working around cryptography and in the XRP blockchain. And so we scan the whole network of researchers doing this, and now they can use the agents to better understand who is doing what and how people can help each other, basically.
Interesting.
So we could absolutely do the same thing for regenerative agriculture in general.
Yeah, yeah. And when we're talking regenerative, just to be clear, this is sort of regenerative systems. So imagine regenerative agriculture, but applied to a systems level. So economics, governance, energy,
Absolutely.
etc. Yeah. So I'm curious. It's very cool. And I'm curious when you say, like, if you wanted to do it now on like an enterprise level, say I'm coming to you and say I want you to convert my LinkedIn follows and maybe my Twitter or Facebook friends or whatever. Like I have several networks that I have curated over, years now of people that I follow that I think are, I want to see them in the network. I want to be able to query that as you just did. And
so you will be able to do that soon.
Yeah.
Starting probably September, October, because we'll be able to give the ability for people to create their own profile directly on JOGL. And so you'll be able actually to send invitations to your network. Say, hey, create a JOGL profile so that we can, stay connected through this tool. But also, if there are some of the profiles, like some of your connections that have already a profile on JOGL, then you can become automatically connected. So it's just like a second stage that we're not at yet because we're more working on the core platform. But yes, this is the next part.
I really like the shadow profile. Maybe there's another word for it, like a placeholder profile or something that sounds a little a little shady. But it reminds me of on Google, like if I do a Google Maps search and I somewhere and it's like there's no, claim that it's a claim this business, right? And I could see it being really valuable for you all if like you create these placeholder profiles and they're pretty filled out, like if I get an invite from somebody who's like join JOGL, like or like check out your placeholder profile on JOGL, and I go there and it's like, oh wow, this is pretty in depth. Like you guys have a lot of
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is absolutely the plan, is that, and we would do that industry by industry so that we have maximum network effects. Yeah.
Well, so, and I'm wondering about, and I'm just spitballing here. Like I'm doing industry by industry makes sense in a way, and I'm also wondering if, like, as a use case, what we're doing could be interesting, where it's like, this regenerative movement is very much cross industry, but the kind of ethic of it and the values, there's a coherence and kind of coordination that goes across sectors. And there's also like this kind of level of trust that people are on the same mission. So do you see what I'm getting at here? It's like by looking at the network that's more of an organic network rather than just like casting the wide net over like all of regenerative agriculture. regenerative agriculture is a good example because it's a very greenwashed and co-opted term at this point. And so there's a lot of, Monsanto is probably regenerative agriculture on their LinkedIn profile or whatever, or, their website or wherever. But having, like, if you looked at my network, for example, of the people that I'm not, I mean, whatever, I'm taking myself an example, but like, hopefully the people in my network who call themselves regenerative agriculture people are more authentic than Monsanto. So having it uh, linked into this trust web, I feel like could be a big value add. Am I making?
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing is, the agent is going to be smart, but it's like able to ask it to not target, like, for example, maybe corporate or to target specific community. And it's all about the details, and the agent is really about to able to catch these kind of details. So if you ask a simple question, you're going to get generic answers. But if you ask very deep questions, it's like with ChatGPT, right?
Sure.
And so if you want to find people that have more specific kind of character, have more experience with like community building or open source, strategies, etc. I mean, you'll be able to find this because this
I
could be in the
theoretically
profile.
about how this person connects into my network. Could I say,
Yeah,
like, so I could say like who am I linked to? Like, what are the
yeah,
linking
the common connections, absolutely. Yeah,
all of them? That's fucking awesome.
yeah.
I love it.
Can I ask the question?
Sure.
I'm curious. We're already kind of pointing towards it with the industry by industry. I'm just curious, like, how you see the onboarding strategy for the platform. Like, how do you see bringing people onto the platform using especially the network effect? I think that really helps. I really like this idea of, when I'm on the platform and I kind of pull in data from my LinkedIn, for example, there's already shadow profiles being made from people, and when you invite them, they can see a pre-filled profile. I think that really helps. But maybe you can share a little bit more how you currently see that, and what's your strategy in that field.
Sure. So in order to maximize network effects and to create more value for people joining the platform as they get to interact with more meaningful people for them, one of the great way to achieve that is by targeting professional networks or events about that industry within that industry, because it usually regroup most of the most meaningful people working in a specific industry. And when you think about it, as this kind of tool is especially good at upgrading loose networks. Basically networks of people that don't really know each other, have a common interest, but they you know they have a hard time actually identifying each other. Or they usually go at events, but even when you go at events, it's hard actually to understand who is who and who you need to talk to. Mm-hmm. So those are our two go-to markets, and then it's basically organic growth through user invitations.
Mm-hmm. And what is the kind of organizations or networks that you currently work with? I know it's more scientific and tech and entrepreneurship oriented. How is that evolving?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So the organizations we work with are, for example, national institutions for research, or is going to be professional networks for biotech, or academic networks for blockchain. But no, we're starting to discuss with more entrepreneurship-oriented networks. We're talking with alumni networks as well for schools and universities. So it's pretty diverse, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how on the platforms can these networks interconnect? How is the cross network fertilization and pollination?
So,
How's that
obviously, if you have a JOGL profile, you can be found by others. If they do a query that goes beyond just the network. And then you can also, this is not yet the case, but we're working on it. You're going to be able to ask the agent to be matched not with people, but with communities. So let's say you're working on
Nice.
project and you're looking for interesting community that support your project or could be inspiring for you. It will be able to say, hey, I know this community there. Some of them are on JOGL, some of them on Slack, or some of them on whatever, Telegram, and go there, and that's the way actually, and that's why they're going to be interesting for you because you have this kind of people, or they talk about this and stuff like this.
Yeah. Wow, that's brilliant. And is there also some kind of permission layering where you can say this information can only be perceived in this network and that's more public, or only with these relationships there? Is there some kind of layering like that?
Not yet. It's on the roadmap. For now, everything that you share with your profile is public. But it's going to come out.
Yeah. All right. Incredible. I like it. What's the future vision for JOGL? Where do you see this going, like 5 or 10 years?
The way we want to evolve is to become a decentralized professional network that's feedless, kind of like an alternative to LinkedIn, and it's great just that either developing meaningful teams, and collaboration, and curating communities. So it's kind of like super admin, if you want, that is able to help you developing a project, developing a community, or developing your own professional career.
Nice.
Cool.
This all sounds really beautiful. Do you also have challenges on this path?
Obviously, we have huge challenges, and I mean the typical challenges of a startup, right? So it's access to talent, to funding, access to the right partnerships. It's very typical, but this is a hard time, especially for startups trying to find funding, and so hopefully we're extremely lean, and so we manage and continue our development. But right now we are preparing our fundraising, and we can see that it's way harder because we already raised funding about 2 years ago for the JOGL platform, and it was much easier to raise funding 2 years ago than it is today. So we hope that it's going to go well. It's I would say like this the most difficult part, the biggest challenge that we have right now is to find like the right investors for us. And we're not looking at doing like a seed round. We're still pre-seed for the agents. So we're talking about a few €100,000. But yeah, that's what we are on to. Then the rest, technically, we're not intimidated. We have pretty good understanding of what we need to do, and the team is right for this. And yeah, the other thing that is going to be a challenge is making sure that the UX is right. So I think so far the UX has been pretty good, but one thing that we want to make sure is, as we're going to be available on various platforms, to make sure that these agents is well synchronized across all platforms. So that's going to be also another challenge.
I'm curious if you were to, if I were to ask you, what makes this different than other networks, network platforms? I mean, I think the AI agent that you described is definitely a big one, but and open source as well. Are there other elements that you see as really distinguishing what you're doing?
I mean, all of the professional networks I know about, they're walking around the feed. And so you have to scroll down in order to get news about what people are doing and learn about, who are people in your network. And I mean, and knowing that most of posts today are becoming, AI generated, It's basically the temple of fake. The JOGL network is basically a feedless professional network where you ask directly the questions to the agents, and then you get into contact with the people directly that you want to talk to.
I see. So it sounds like the AI agent is going to be really core.
Yes. It's almost like a pivot for us. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's really solid. The piece that comes up for me that might be interesting to you, and I think relates to both visions is, and Bart and I have talked about this a lot too, is a way to reward network weavers and people that are facilitating connection, kind of that invisible work of helping to create communities.
Yeah.
And so I could see in this, especially if you're doing this process of, kind of, creating these placeholder profiles and then inviting people on, like some way of acknowledging, maybe even rewarding, remunerating, paying people that are the network.
Sorry, Thomas, can you mute yourself again?
So,
can you repeat your last sentence, Andrew?
Yeah, just like a building in a way where people that are doing the network building are rewarded in some way, where that's really if the purpose of this is to build networks and to make a kind of curated network, then having the people who are doing the humans that are doing the network curation part of it or the weaving part of it be celebrated and rewarded would be a great addition.
I completely agree with you. It's a shared vision here, and we haven't figured out the way we could do this, and very open to discussions. But yes, it's important. I agree.
We had a really good conversation that Bart lined up with Gustavo Gus from Collaborators. Have you talked to him yet?
Sorry again?
Do you know, have you talked to Gus from Collaborators? He's also in the Coherence cohort, collaborators.xyz. I'm
not sure.
He would be a really good person for you to talk to. Maybe, I don't know the best way. Maybe
we're actually having a call about attribution and rewarding people's contributions in the next hour. Gus will also be there, so I don't know if you're available, Thomas. You could jump in, but I know you're having a lot of calls today already, so yeah.
He's up next. Interesting. Yeah, Thomas, if you happen to be free, starting in like 8 minutes, we're going to do a call and Gus will be on it, and it sounds very related to this topic.
It is going to be hard for me, unfortunately. But yeah, I'd love to have an opportunity to talk to him.
This is the beauty of the Coherence conference, right, Bart? You can watch the video call and then you can book time with him, and it's all working out.
Exactly, that's the whole point. Yeah. So we will be recording and sharing the conversation. Maybe that leads me to another question. Like, I mean, Coherence also aims to integrate with a platform like JOGL. I know you've been talking with Victor. Do you see a way for it to be easy to kind of plug in video recordings and transcripts into JOGL as a way to kind of feed the network and the system with knowledge and information?
The way we talked about it is it becomes what is possible is to take the transcript of a discussion, like description of a project, and associate it to your profile. So it becomes basically like a project you've worked on, and so if you want to be found about that project through the JOGL network, it will be possible. What's going to become next feasible is to not only match with people, but to be matched with projects. But what you're building with the Coherence network is more like a model trained specifically on this kind of data, and so I would more like perceive the ability for it to become an autonomous agent that can be interrogated by other agents, and so it's it becomes its own thing. But yeah, it needs to have its own training, I would say.
I have a question about that. Sorry to jump in, Bart, but it's related. I wonder if coherence. I mean, the simplest low-hanging fruit would be to figure out a way where just everybody that was involved in the conference could be kind of grouped together into a channel or a community or something like that on JOGL. That could be a great way of just showing how the platform works to the people, even in coherence. Like, oh wow, we made your placeholder. We put our tendrils out. Is that something that would be possible?
Oh, absolutely. We can do that tomorrow if you want. Certainly. We can create a hub for the Coherence network, and we can create shadow profiles, for each of the people based on the information that was already shared, and start from there. And people can then, start using the agent to ask questions about what people have been doing, basically. So we just need to make sure of what set of information we want to use for each profiles.
That's interesting. Yeah.
What are the options? Like, what kind of things can you easily plug in? Is it like URLs to LinkedIn or to your website, or how does that work with building the profile?
So it's going to be nowadays we mostly work with LinkedIn for like basic professional information. Then for the rest is going to be either if like papers, we work with different services to identify like if you publish papers, or it's going to be the same for patents. It's going to be the same as well for any GitHub contributions. So to know, for example, the GitHub login of a person enables us to see the kind of repos they've been contributing to. And then if it's more manual information, we can input them manually. And so, for example, it could be like a report or like the summary of a project. If it's websites, then what we could simply do is ask for an abstract of the website. It's pretty easy to do with any AI model out there. Like for example, we can use Perplexity for this. Say, hey, summarize, the project behind this website, in like 1,000 words maximum, and we can, index this, assess this to the people's profile.
Cool. I think this would be a nice next step as a way to, playfully get to know each other and our work in multiple ways, right? Getting to know the JOGL platform, but also using the JOGL platform to get to know each other's work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see what can just easily be kind of magically created without too much trouble. I guess I'm curious about the kind of what's able to be done like in an automated way versus what takes more, hands-on, human touch. But maybe that would be a good way to explore what that is like, and then also the onboarding process. It would be great. Yeah, great way to just get to know the platform a little bit if you're.
Yeah, and so what we can do is give them also access to their profile. The only thing we need to know is the email address. So for the list of people in the Coherence network, if you can give us that list with the email address, then we can make sure that they receive an invitation to claim their profile.
Probably we should get some kind of consent.
Absolutely. That's why I'm telling you, if we can create shadow profiles without them claiming their profiles, but if you want them to claim their profile, we need their email address.
Maybe
Nice.
Bart, I don't know, but maybe in the Telegram group, or you know better than I, like where the place to put this invitation out would be to see if people want to do that. But it seems like it could be good.
Yeah, we can share it in the Telegram chat with all the participants. Make the invitation. Do you feel like picking this up, Andrew, and kind of exploring how to do this? And I can help with the emails and maybe invitation to the network.
Yeah, maybe we can kind of co-steward it since you're kind of integrated with the Coherence communications. But I'm happy to just help keep it alive and however I can. And yeah, Thomas, I'm realizing we're at time and I've got actually another meeting. Actually, Bart does too. Bart, I'm not sure if I can join our next one because I am supposed to be talking to Lee right now, but I might try to wrangle him into this one. Anyways,
All right.
let's just to finish it up with you. Sorry you can't make it to this next one, but I want to connect you. I'm going to make sure to connect you with Gus of Collaborate because I feel like you guys would have a really good conversation.
Sounds great.
So I'll find a way to get to you and get you his name to remind you.
Sounds good. Great chatting with you guys. And yeah, let's definitely continue this conversation.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Thomas. Really nice meeting you, and
Likewise.
thanks for the beautiful work you're doing. And so good to see how much progress you've already made, and especially the overlap with what we've been envisioning. So I think this won't be the last conversation.
Sounds great.
Beginning.
All right.
Thanks, Thomas.
All right.
Great work.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Ciao.
Ciao.